Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where I'm going to share a few of my thoughts about this new short mix of death grips, Gmail and the restraining orders. This is a 28-minute continuous mix from death grips that was broadcasted at the 30th NTS anniversary that was made by Warp. Lots of different artists participated in this whole broadcast and Death Grips was also one of them. And they came out with a bunch of older recordings. We're not talking about new stuff, but they have just mixed them with some free improvised elements and in general lots of messy and heavy stuff. This also makes it one of the more messy and one of the more intense stuff they have ever released in their entire catalog. Now Death Grips in my opinion is definitely one of my favorite projects, one of my favorite acts of the 2010s, one of my favorites from this decade. They have a truly unique and interesting sound that they have developed over a decade or so, and I'm always hyped for anything they're going to come out next because I truly like everything they have done so far. And now this one was supposed to be just a simple mix, a continuous 28-minute track with not something all that special or unique to their sound, but just being a spot into the Death Grips discography. Something that it's not the first time they have done. It has also happened a few other times with the releases Fashion Week and Interview 2016. However, even if this sort of EP or short mix, whatever you wanna call it, even if it's not up to the better stuff from Death Grips so far, it's still a really interesting project that it's definitely worth listening to. For one, I think that the most significant and the most important part about this whole mix is the drumming from Zach Hill. Zach Hill, the drummer of Death Grips, has a really great sound and he is a truly talented drummer that has shown this on numerous times from various Death Grips releases, and he also has some stunning live performances with really fast and complex drumming, having elements from even math rock and just free improvised madness. But for a studio work, this is by far the most intense and the most insane thing Death Grips have ever released, especially with the drumming on this thing. The drums from Zach Hill in this thing in particular are so ferocious, they're so aggressive, they're just mind-blowingly intense. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? Zach Hill's playing in this thing is inhuman and it just continues and goes on for 28 minutes. There's not a break point. He just constantly blasts his drums for about 28 minutes non-stop, and that's mind-numbingly insane. So yeah, in terms of studio work, this is the most astonishing performance from Zach Hill ever, at least in the Death Grips catalog. Not only, like I said, it's extremely nasty and ferocious, but it just constantly goes to this whole free improvised thing. But the thing is that it doesn't sound messy in the way that it's just all over the place. It's not in a bad way. Zach manages to take all this mess and all that intensity and this free improvised unorthodox drumming and make it sound like it makes sense. Now when it comes to the rest of the mix, MC Ride's vocals and rapping just constantly pitch shifted, stretched out, manipulated, getting looped over and over, just getting filled with tons of effects and just creating a really bizarre avant-garde feel. It's all over the place and it reminds me a lot to the work they've done with the vocals from York from the album, which by far the most apparent thing about this album was just this manipulation of Björk's vocals all over this thing, giving this extremely unsettling and glitchy tone to it. And this is pretty much the same thing with Gmail and the restraining orders, but in this case it's with MC Ride's vocals. When it comes to the rest of this thing though, it kind of drags it down for the fact that the rest of the background music just feels forgettable. There's not something all that interesting to it, mostly because all the instrumentals are constantly overshadowed by this intense drumming. These elements are so great and so ear-grabbing that they just put you away from anything else there is to this song. And it doesn't feel like it was given all that much of an attention to the part of the rest of the instrumentation, because like I said, the drums and the vocals are the things that are mostly recognizable and memorable out of this whole 28-minute experience. Then the other disadvantage of this project, in my opinion, is that this one feels like one of the least original things Death Grips have ever done. And this one comes from a band that would constantly go for something unique and different with each single release they've done. Maybe it's because we're not talking about an entirely new project, because these are apparently old recordings. But this album, like I said, has lots of elements from projects like Niggas on the Moon, especially with the part, like I said, with the Björk vocals. Also, this whole mix idea reminds me a lot of what they did with the EP Steroids, and there are also some of these aggressive and glitchy weird moments that remind me a lot of Steroids. And you can also say there is a similarity with the electronic drum solo dub mix, just because we're talking about intense, free improvised drumming. Other than that though, this is a pretty good and enjoyable release. Maybe not one of those that would make me come back to it eventually. It's not one of those things that would just stick to your mind as one of the more memorable works and one of the more significant in the whole Death Grips catalog, but it's still a short project that takes a good spot in a generally great discography. I'm going to give Gmail and the Restraining Orders a 7 out of 10. What's your opinion on this continuous mix? Do you like it, dislike it, why? And what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.